I have this wonderful privilege. You know, last week, many of you were here. Reverend Elizabeth talked about the thing itself. This idea that a God, Spirit, Creator, the Absolute, the all that is, more names than we can count, and no name could possibly contain it, the Force. And next week, Eric Odell is coming back. Any Eric Odell fans out there? Yeah. So this is a sandwich, and I'm in the middle. Eric's going to talk about how it works. And what I get to share with you this morning is the way it works and what it does. Now, I was laughing quite a bit about this. This is 16 pages of the meaning of life, answering big questions like, why are we here? What does it all mean? And things like that. How does it work? And I condensed those or distilled them into my own knowingness deeper than before over the past week. And the funny thing is that in fulfilling this request to offer these two pieces of the textbook, yes, the textbook of Science of Mind, I actually had to fulfill what I'm teaching, which is in order to be able to share it with you, to impart it with you, to give it to you. First, I have to embody it. And in order to embody it, I need to understand it. And in order to understand it, I need to know something about it. I probably have to ask some questions. Take a good look. Take a look in a way that I haven't before. And in doing that, the thing itself, the power that it possesses, all of its wisdom, all that it has to offer, avails itself to me. And to the degree that I understand it, because I took the time to know it, and I practiced knowing it in ways I hadn't before, and invited it to become my experience, it becomes the truth of my experience. It becomes the way of my experience. It becomes the law. A demonstrable scientific principle for me in my life. Well, that's what I'm supposed to be telling you. So in order for me to be able to tell you the way it works and what it does, I had to delve deep. I had to read, and to read again. I got out my thesaurus this week. Because some of these writers, old and new, here and there, they might put two words together in a sentence, the two of which combine perhaps to encapsulate most of the meaning of life. So I thought, okay, what does it mean to embody? The beginning of this piece of the sandwich that I have for you says, "It is done unto you as you believe." So maybe that's the lettuce or something. The meat says that we can have much of that infinitude, that infinite possibility, that all-knowingness, that all-lovingness, that abundant, rich, wealthy, infinite abundance, substance, that eternal life. We can have as much of that as we can embody. Well, that kind of seems like a tall order. Most of us have heard, if nothing else, one quote from Mahatma Gandhi that says, "Be the peace you wish to experience in the world." That's a tall order. Be it. Don't wish. Don't hope. Don't pine. Be it. Well, how do we be that thing? How do we become? How do we become? How do we be and believe in and act like something we don't know yet? This is where we're going to have to use our imagination. I understand that the word imagination is tied to or comes from the same root as the Magi. I am a Magi. I am Magi. That what I actually call upon is this magic that is mine and it's yours, it's everyone's. Each time I get the image of something in my mind, I make room for it, excuse me, to become my experience. Another chuckle as I was really working to distill and get down to the very simplest interpretation of this material was when I closed my eyes to do what we now call an affirmative prayer, and is referred to by many of us still as spiritual mind treatment. Sounds like something you might have to put on electrodes for. And oftentimes what I do is I pray with my partner Rick, and he'll start us off and then he'll say, and I lovingly pass the word. And I say, and I lovingly receive this word, and I add mine to it. And then I go into this piece where I say, knowing that each time I focus upon the truth and recognize it, I make room for it as my experience. So this is part of what's in this teaching. This is part of what's in our ragged textbooks. This is part of what appears more to us each time we look. There's a simplicity and a mysterious complexity about it at the same time. So each time we focus on the truth of all that is and our relationship to it, we have the opportunity to know it better, to understand it better, and apparently understanding is the key to getting it. Not just understanding, not knowing, not that kind of getting, but experiencing it. Now, to kind of move out of theory and into example, there's some great examples. Take what water does. Water seeks its own level. Water will flow to any place that it is given the opportunity to do so. It'll also back up if it is dammed or blocked. It can't and won't flow where no place is created for it. That's easy enough. Ask a plumber. They know, right? Or any of us who have had frozen or burst pipes. Water in the living room. We know there are certain laws by which water operates. Understanding the laws by which water operates allows us to get more of what water has to give to us. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. So here's another one, electricity. We don't have to understand it because we have people who do, who wire this building, who design these lights, who make sure that they work and they're safe. However, he or she who understands how electricity works gets to have more of what electricity has to offer, and can work with it, just like water, in ways that he or she can count on. Now that's a really good thing when you're talking about electricity. We could say the same thing about fire. We could say the same thing about baking, or driving, or chemistry. We could say the same thing about practically anything. I would dare say everything. So the deal with us is that we have this other law. We are part of an infinite knowingness. I almost brought up the song lyrics to a song that was written by a science of my minister who was first a singer-songwriter. And she wrote a song called The Riddle of Simplicity. The riddle of simplicity is one of the subheadings in one of these chapters, because we make it more complicated than it needs to be. The thing is, it does seem mysterious. Well, what else would happen when you gaze upon the infinite, the sea of infinite possibility? We could mistake it for complex because it's so vast. There are so many different ways that it could show up. It could seem complex, but it's really simple. We go back to this principle. Same as with electricity, same as with water. The deal is, to the degree that I understand infinite wisdom, eternal power, pure spiritual substance, eternal life, to that degree, I get to have that much of the infinite as my experience, as my mind, my knowingness, as my experience of love, as my body and the body of my affairs, as my life, to that degree. So you go back to this simple phrase, one way of putting it, that says, it is done unto you as you believe. And that word as turns out to carry a lot of weight. What does that mean? It could mean that you get it when you believe it. It could mean that you get it to the degree that you believe it. Could mean that you get it as often as you believe it. It actually means all of those things. Ernest Holmes, the founder of this teaching, says that it is done unto you as you believe could be interpreted to mean that the weight of that word as, our interpretation of it, our use of it, makes the difference between heaven or hell for us as our life experience. So let's go back to life experience. Of course, because we're dealing with the infinite, there are many metaphors that we could choose from that we haven't talked about yet. But what about daily life? I love to be my own confessor when I'm up here. I have a belief system about a pattern in my life when it comes to taking care of my personal records. You know the kind. Bills, bank statements, things like that. It runs completely counter to, by the way, the fact that I know I am an organized person. I'm almost addicted to order. I love making sure that the fruit is never in the vegetable drawer. And yet I have this belief that says, I don't know about that. I can't do that. I do struggle with that. Every year about this time, I have to face that. I have made it my understanding. I have made it my knowledge. I have made it the law in my life. I have made it the way things work for me. I have made it my truth. I have made it my God. Guess what? In any moment, any nanosecond of openness, of willingness to imagine differently, to give this part of my life, of divine intelligence, a place to flow, I can have a different experience. Now, it's really funny when we think about other areas of my life where I've handed it over to that power greater than just me, to that infinite intelligence. When I have laid something at the feet of, and I don't mean separate from myself, a knowingness greater than my own limited knowingness, a love greater than the love I am yet able to embody, a plenty and a bounty greater than the one I have yet known, a life more inspired or animated than the one that I've had lately. I get that. But see, I'm free, and so are you. So there's no way that the infinite knowingness and lovingness and bounty in life can give me anything more than I make room for, than I am open to, than I accept. I know last week Reverend Elizabeth talked about Star Wars, and I'm going to talk about Star Trek. Anybody remember the Prime Directive? Yes. Okay. But doesn't that basically say that it's none of my business, no matter what planet I'm visiting, to interfere with the experience of another? Because that person needs to be free to discover on their own. Well, that's the way our higher power works with us. If everything was done for me, I wouldn't be free. So, It isn't. The gift is given, however. Everything is already provided. Everything is already provided. In the abstract, in the wave state, in the field of infinite possibility, everything imaginable already exists. And yet for it to become particularized, a quantum physicist, just jump up and say, yeah, me. For it to become particularized, I must look at it expecting it to be that. I must look at it expecting it to be that. So it is simple, which is not to be confused with easy, because it is one thing to know and another to embody. So how do we do that? I looked at some synonyms for embody. A couple of them were incorporate, to incorporate. Another was to personify. Another was to include. Another was to incarnate. So apparently, to put it all back together, we are each points of awareness within infinity. Infinite possibility. We are made out of the same stuff. There's one power, one presence, one substance, one activity, one thing going on. Okay, so there's one power. It made everything. We exist, so we must be part of everything. Therefore, we must be one with it. Okay, now you're following me. That means, without a doubt, then, that our minds are one with divine mind. Our hearts are one with the love, with the heart of everything. Our bodies and the bodies of our affairs are one with the body of God. Can you see how it's impossible? How it is possible, she said, to embody this. It's by degrees. It's to the degree of our believing. There's one life, and we're alive, so our lives must be an aspect of that one life. I love the analogy of the wave to the ocean. We are elementally and essentially the same as that from which we come. Temporary experiences and experiencers of individuality, but never quite completely disconnected from that because we're made of it. So even if we wash up on the beach for a moment, the essence of who we are is still that. So a nice thing to think about is that we can call upon it. It is vast. There's always an opportunity to discover more. There's always an opportunity to know more. There's always an opportunity to be more. The beauty of this is something that we've heard in different things that we've discussed and read or heard in a song or in a lecture at a seminar or something. The beauty of this is that in each of us, knowing Spirit, Creator, the Absolute, more, we get to experience it more. All that it has to offer, all of those possibilities awaiting each and every one of us. And as we increase our understanding and therefore our experience of Spirit, well, we are Spirit's experiencers and expressors in time and space, in physicality. So this might seem like a tall order too, but we actually get to experience for Spirit as we do it. So not only do we grow, because we grow in understanding and we grow in our experience, but the Creator, through all of us, through the manifest universe, through every single bit of evolution on an individual and collective basis gets to evolve too. Now sometimes when we hear these in stories and conversation, they seem like mere platitudes. We really are powerful, creative, spiritual beings. Anything is possible in divine mind, and our minds are one with divine mind. And that's where all life begins. Logos, the Word, the beginning, the genesis of everything from a parking space, a successful job interview, finding the outfit you were shopping for, to every aspect of the fulfillment of your every dream. It's the same thing. So we're not selfish to imagine that we might like to have more, because what does that do? That makes us more fully realized and actualized representatives of infinite possibility. We have more to give. We inspire more to evolve, to become greater, to experience and prove more of His goodness. Everybody wins. I invite you this morning to think about these two things. It is done unto you as you believe. What does that really mean? And you and me, us, we, can have, as individuals and as a world, as much of this goodness as we can embody. That's big. What does that mean? Can you take that home with you? Say, wow. As. What does that mean? As. Believe. What does that really mean? Embody. Wow. I might have some work to do. There's no wishing or hoping in this. It is definite. We approach this source, this supply, this intelligence, this love, this wisdom, this power, definitely. And if there's something you want to experience but you don't know it yet, know that you know. If there's a big old doubt in the way that is closing off the pathway for that good to come to you, know that you know, and the doubt will disappear in the light of that truth. Use the same law that responds automatically to your thought to produce the belief, to make way for the understanding, to make way for the experience, so that you can embody it. Because once you get there, you'll never go back. Once you know, you know. You can't unknow. So I invite you to take that home with you this morning. After we stay and visit and enjoy the process together of sprucing up this place for what's next. Take it with you into your activities. It is done unto you as you believe. And all of this infinite possibility is yours to the degree that you can embody it. So embody it. Believe it and be it. Believe it and be it. Namaste.
Namaste.